Hello, everyone. A warm welcome. I'm here with some wonderful people. I'm here with Rosy Aronson, who's my partner here working with the Dream Arc, and we are going to explore with the Dream Arc. We're going to be talking to the amazing Martyn and Kasia. And Martyn and Kasia are going to be running a Dream Arc podcast. So it's really exciting. So we wanted to come and introduce them to you. And I'm in the kind of reverse seat from my normal seat. I'm the one that with the Rosie is going to be doing the interviewing. So I'm really delighted about that. I didn't have to do really any of the work. So, we were just saying that Martyn and I and Kasia, we came across each other on a social media app called Clubhouse, where I was talking about the Dream Arc and other things and the gene keys, and then Martyn sent me a message, and we ended up having email, and then we did this wonderful call together, and we had this great connection. And Martyn's business, you probably hear about a bit more, but it's this a wonderful business called Purple Goat, and several other businesses that I think are also running. So the two of you are incredibly dynamic, diverse, full of energy and creativity, and I couldn't think of two more awesome people to be doing this project of exploring the Dream Arc and running a podcast, and really doing this job of interviewing interesting people and pulling out of them their stories and all the things that the Dream Arc brings up in people. So it's very exciting. And without further ado, Rosy, I'll pass over to you.
Okay, that was a beautiful introduction, Richard. And I just want to say I have so enjoyed our collaboration so far. Martyn and Kasia are very deep, thoughtful, loving, Virgo-esque, organized, compassionate, devoted, creative people. So I'm just so honored to be here with all of you today. And I guess I just wanted to ask, just to start for fun, how did you two meet? How did you meet each other?
Do you want to start? Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us here. It's really a huge honor to be here, and we are full of gratitude for you both and all the community and all the people that co-create this space and Dream Arc and Gene Keys. It's just so wonderful and exciting to be here. And we met in Camden actually, so maybe you can share a bit more of the story.
Yeah, so we were both living in London, but we hadn't met. And I think I was on a work night out, and one of my care assistants, because I have a lot of help with the disability that I have, she was working a shift, and it turned out that her friend was going to come along to see her, and that friend was Kasia. So we met in a pub in Camden, very rock and roll. For those that know Camden, it's quite a funky place in London. And we always say that after meeting that night in sort of 2011, wasn't it? A while ago now.
Yeah.
We just haven't stopped talking since. So we're bringing that to the podcast, but obviously, as Richard said, we won't be doing all the talking because it's about hosting it and bringing other people's stories in. But yeah, we chat a lot, and we've got lots of great projects together, and we've got our little doggy who we'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, that's how we met back in 2011 anyway.
Wonderful. Oh, what lovely to hear a bit of your story, and in a hipster area of Camden in London. That's a cool place to meet.
Absolutely.
And Kasia, you're from originally from Poland.
Yes, I'm from Poland. I came to England when I was 19, and I just follow my calling of curiosity of exploring the world, and I didn't know what I wanted to study, so I just wanted to go and explore, and I only wanted to come for 6 months, and here I am 20 years later. I was about to go back home to live in Krakow in the mountain area in Poland and study jazz music, but then I met Martyn in London, and that sort of twisted my fate and my destiny. So here I am, new in Cambridgeshire with with the love of my life. So
I love
yeah.
it. And can I ask a little cheeky question? Like, what was it in Martyn that kind of changed your destiny? What were the qualities that really kind of caught you?
I feel like it's more than knowing. I just feel like we've met many lifetimes before, and it's that sort of. I mean, his best quality for me is kindness and sunny personality. He's just so positive. Even if there's some like darkness that sometimes cruising into all of our lives, it's normal. Like, I don't know, you always just bring that sort of positive sort of outcome, and you're my rogue. So it's just like the safety, the kindness, adventure, because we've traveled a lot since we met. And I always laugh that we are the two philosophers of the 21st century. We just like love chatting about like anything, and a lot of philosophies at breakfast, for example, and then it carries on to lunchtime. And my mom always say, like, you two start chatting and you just chat like together, but you understand each other. So yeah, I suppose it's all that really, and his charm, of course, his killer story.
All right.
And
I can go on for a long time.
Thank you.
oh, that's so touching. You're like an embodied living podcast all the time.
Yeah.
Martyn, what about you? Like, what? I love that question, Richard. What? When you met Kasia for the first time, and as you've gotten to know her over the years, what have you come to really appreciate about her?
I guess, definitely kindness. Very clever, very deep and thoughtful, very caring, very worldly. So what Kasia said, we talk and philosophize a lot, and we've both got line sixes from a gene key perspective in our main profile. So we're up on that roof quite a lot, and we sometimes have to remember to get down off the roof as well. Of course, her beauty, stunning beauty, and her green eyes as well. Her green eyes are very mesmerizing. And I think the way that we live our life together, that we just have those similar plans and enjoy similar activities. And just a real soulmate. Yeah.
So touching.
Yeah, you're helping me prepare my vows for the wedding next year as well.
You're doing very well so far, both of you.
Oh my!
I'm just thinking about like your individual journeys and how they brought you to each other. And some people who are listening to this podcast may not be familiar with the Gene Keys. Many people may be. So if you talk about things like being up on the roof or coming off the roof, it would be good to explain that in layman's terms for people. And I'm kind of curious about how that aspect of your story led you to each other, in terms of how difficult times, dark times, challenging times, turbulent times actually turned into open-hearted moments and opportunities. And I imagine both of you have had your own challenges in life, and how you kind of use the Gene Keys and your philosophical natures to change or transmute challenge into gifts.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you, Rosie. It's for me. I have to just say it straight out that Gene Keys and Dream Arc for me are the best tools for navigating my life and these times. And I'm so grateful that they came to my life via my friend Santiago, who very enthusiastically introduced me to the Gene Keys, and he was like, "You've got to have your profile." And I was like, okay, calm down a little bit, because I was a little bit suspicious. I was like, the date and place you need to give the birth. But then I saw the profile and I was just like, wow. And I start reading it, and it just started landing in me. Like that, the biggest for me aspect was the line 6 that Martyn mentioned, because the line 6 is like experiences 3 stages in life, which is like the first stage to about 30 is like exploring and just basically experiencing everything. And that was me. Like, I was like that. I was so thirsty for adventure, for experiences. Like, I just decided randomly to go to New Zealand with my friend for 4 months. And then live in London and try different jobs, like many different directions. And that was the first 30 odd lives. And then I had the challenge, and it sort of came, for me personally, came as a health challenge. So I'm on the like 7-year cycle finishing now of that quite a huge health challenge, like one of the mysterious sort of diseases, which was sort of diagnosed as the Lyme disease, which, is so fascinating because it connects to the dream arc, which we're probably going to talk later. In my purpose, as some of you listening might know, you have the profile, and one of the sphere is the sphere of purpose. And my purpose is Gene Key 9, which in dream arc in the shadow is a tick. And, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, which is connected to the tick, So for me, when I read that information, it was just like something in all of my cells, like got really this like knowing of, wow. So I was initiated, into some sort of journey that just now is finishing. And it's been very, very challenging, but thanks to Gene Keys and Dream Arc, I feel like I really, really could survive it, basically. So, yeah, I'll pass it now to you.
Yeah,
I was going to ask, just following up, like, I'd love to hear, like, from you, like, how did the dream arc creep into your life?
Was that to Kasia or me? Sorry.
No, it's to you, Martyn.
To me, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so a bit like Kasia mentioned, the Gene Keys came into our sphere. First of all, I came across the Gene Keys because of Kasia. Sort of probably a year or two after Kasia had been playing around with it, I got more and more curious about this thing that she kept mentioning. So, yeah, I kind of, did the profile when I read the book. I've got the book on Audible that you wrote about the Gene Keys. So I sort of dip in and out of different Gene Keys over time. And then again, I think the dream arc was Kasia had found the dream arc first. And so again, just like curiosity and osmosis as well. Definitely that was the kind of two main touch points, was because of Kasia introducing them to me. I think that question around challenges, obviously having the disability that I've got, which is since birth. So when I was 18 months old, I was diagnosed with something called spinal muscular atrophy. So it's a neuromuscular disability. So I've always needed a wheelchair. I've always needed pretty much full-time care support physically. Mum and dad did most of that when I was a child. And then when I was about 19, I wanted to go to university. So that meant kind of, not just exploring in the way everyone does, but actually needing essentially strangers to do my very personal care. So that was quite a big challenge. So there's been many challenges around being in a wheelchair in a world that's not maybe designed for wheelchair users, shall we say, in terms of, barriers and steps and all the kind of architectural stuff, but also attitude and all the kind of stereotypes around difference and disability. But I think linking to what Kasia said before, I'm self-aware that I've got that sort of positive, can-do, sunny disposition. I'm, proud of that part of myself. But for a long while, that was how I overcame a lot of the challenges. And as I've got into my mid and now late 30s, there were certain things that were always there, bubbling under the surface, that I could just keep busy and stay positive, that started to really say, hang on, we need a bit of focus and a bit of attention here. And so, for me, the Gene Keys and the Dream Arc have been, as Kasia was saying, that tool and that framework to really understand some pretty deeply suppressed and repressed things, both as a disabled person, inverted commas, and separate to the disability stuff, just as a human being with the human condition that we all have. And so I think I've learned that it's okay to face my fears and shadows and not always have to be that sunny, positive person. And that that's been quite a hard process the last 2, 3, 4 years. But yeah, through the two frameworks we're talking about has been a massive help through that.
And Kasia mentioned like the tick, and which is great, the little insect, that tick, as an underworld creature, that kind of triggered and, perhaps a reappraisal of your purpose in life at a visceral level, which is an amazing thing itself. But also, I'm wondering, in the category of fears and the underworld creatures in the dream arc, I wonder if there's any that you have resonated with that kind of, or not resonated with, that have kind of crept in a bit and maybe brought some of that shadow stuff that you're talking about. Are there any that you can think of, or are you still in a bit of a journey with that?
Yeah, there's not anything. So generally, there's not something that I've been aware of and then, explored more within the codex, which again, we can speak a bit more sort of these things later. As you asked me, it just struck me that when we were in Poland for 3 weeks, we just come home to visit Kasia's family, and we go every year. I always have quite a lot of difficulties with mosquitoes. So I'm going to go after this chat and read up on the mosquito and see if that resonates and what that may or may not mean. But I think on that sort of the level around the gift, I would say that, and you mentioned the company earlier, Purple Goat, so the general trajectory is I've just done a lot of work around disability inclusion, and I partnered with a marketing agency called The Goat Agency, and the disability-specific one that I am running is called Purple Goat, and purple is the colour of disability. But when I looked up about goat, it had this sentiment about the things that you don't like or that are abhorrent. And I've always had that quite anti-establishment view. And the more Purple Goat has grown, we're working with big businesses and government and the establishment. And so there was something around that was very helpful in, whilst I've always been an activist, but the thing that maybe you could, inverted commas, see as the enemy, had actually, we all have to work together, and it's about building bridges, which is something we've talked a lot about as the four Virgos here. So the goat did resonate in a way around that kind of angle, and also looking after your health, which is something the last sort of 2 to 3 years, it's kind of, I've gone, okay, I can't just be on the go all day and all night and burn the candle at all ends. So the goat resonated in a very specific way, after already having named the business that.
That's amazing. And I don't know if you're aware that, I know that in the dream arc, every creature has two programming partners, what do we call them? Dream arc partners.
Or trio partners.
Yeah, trio of partners. And the goat is paired with the mosquito.
No way.
Yeah. So I think you might want to look at that. What fear the mosquito represents.
Yeah.
Because every underworld creature represents a fear, and like, what is that fear, and how does the goat's energy release it, transform it, and bring it out? And then the bird, by the way, is the seagull, so you can get the whole story, which is the freedom of that energy released out into the kind of ocean of being. So anyway, I think that might be a good contemplative journey.
Going to be a late night tonight.
Well, I love it too that it shows the spirit of the dream arc, which we'll be talking more about, and how much synchronicity is a part of that journey. And I was just thinking, both of you were saying that you kind of found the dream arc, or us, through the Gene Keys first, which is its own incredible body of universal wisdom with so many pathways and ways of exploring and unleashing one's genius into the world. And then there's the dream arc, which is kind of like a little, what would you say? It's sort of a rebirth of the Gene Keys through the right brain, through the intuition, through the imagination, through play, through the inner child. And I would so love to hear from both of you about like as you journeyed from the Gene Keys into the dream arc, what is it about the dream arc that really speaks to you so much that you want to actually have a podcast where you're interviewing people about it and spreading the word about it and incorporating more of a diverse community into it through their contributions, their creativity? Like, what is it about the dream arc that speaks to you so much, and maybe a little bit more of your personal experiences with it, in addition to the tick and the mosquito, and you've got a dog that you mentioned before. So just anything that you want to share specifically about the dream arc.
I mean, purely dream arc is just pure magic. Like the moment you enter it, and it creates, as you mentioned, Rosy, so many synchronicities and so many wonderful, I mean, there's signs around us all the time. And I feel like dream arc almost help you to navigate these signs via beautiful connection to Mother Earth and to all their beautiful children, like all the animals, insects, everything. And I became more aware. Like I was always very connected to nature. As a child, I was like touching trees just to gather energy to help my mom, because when she was struggling or something, like, I was just always connected to nature. But then I kind of lost it in a little bit, like when I went to London and being all like busy and, trying to find myself. And it's sort of like the dream arc that reconnected me back to that essence of myself, essentially. So for me, it's just such a wonderful space. Like even if you leave it for a while, you come back, and the moment you come back, the synchronicities are just all around you all the time. And I've got like two stories that I would like to share with that, personal story. So one was actually quite recent in Poland, when I was just, almost at the end of our holidays, and I always have that like slightly sort of torn heart between leaving my family there and then going back here to the second home, that is England, and it's been for the last 20 years. And I was just like, I swam out in the mattress in the middle of this beautiful lake, and I could see, it was a classic Line 6, by the way, for all the Line 6 to understand it, like see all the drama, all the action happening on the shore, while I was like right in the middle of the lake. And, and I was asking myself, like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I connect these two situations when I want to be in this country and with my family, and in this country with this family, And as I was just like literally asked that question, a huge dragonfly, one of those like helicopter looking like flew right in front of my eyes, like literally like that far away from my face, and just hovered. I was like on the mattress, relaxing in the lake, and this dragonfly was just literally looking right in my eyes. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then we left 2 days later, and on the journey back, I actually checked in the codex. Well, I knew that it's Gene Key 55, the great change, that we're all going through now. And I started listening to your recording, Richard, about the 55th. And what really got me was about the question, like, where do you create a victim state for yourself, And I realized that situation, I was creating like a victim sort of situation, rather than letting life flow, which you also are mentioning there, like that you just need to let life flow, just be in the flow of it all, like observe your life and try not to become that victimized, being, like let go of that, basically. And that really, this just shows to me the magic of it, because all of a sudden my frequency completely shifted, I was like from this quite sad sort of, really like emotional, heavy in me. I was like, yeah, this is great. Like, thank you, Dragonfly. Thank you, Universe. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Rosy. Thank you, all of you, for this wonderful, wonderful connection that I can then have with my eye via,
That's so true, isn't it? It's like so true of so many of us that, we get stuck into a kind of way of seeing something. And then when there's a shift like that, and a dragonfly is in the dream mark, it's one of the changers. So it comes to bring us that change energy and transformation. And then suddenly we look at the situation differently, and the thing that was like the problem suddenly becomes the gift. We're like, well, this is really cool. I got 2 communities and I can flow between them in an organic way. And so, it's so often in life that we just kind of trap ourselves.
That's a very, very right sentence to say. We literally trap ourselves. I felt trapped, and then that shift made me free. It was the freedom. It's like I was just like, as you said, I got two places, two families, like two sets of lots of amazing people.
How cool is that?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that one was amazing. And the second one, just quickly, like when I started DreamArc, I sort of didn't follow the pattern because I always just go off into all sorts of different directions usually myself. And I was just so drawn to praying mantis. And I didn't know why. I just called me. And I did the meditation, which, by the way, is absolutely incredible. I did it about, I think, around 11 or more times, like in a row. And I was sitting with praying mantis for 4 months, I didn't move to any other animal. I was just with the praying mantis. And then I decided to start drawing her, and she didn't allow me to finish, So I was like, keep drawing, and something distracted me. So, it took me 4 months to complete her. And that was the 4 months in which I did, as I said, like around 11 of the meditations where you go with the praying mantis, you go and hunt for your fears, And this is so connected to my, the journey of my health and my challenge of health, It's like I had to go so deep in my body, and I literally felt we were hunting, me and the praying mantis were hunting for the fears in my body, like especially around my solar plexus, those one place that it kept coming to it, and I could feel it, It was so incredible because it wasn't from my head, it was just in my body. And that's when I was just like, wow, this course is something else, because it's not just another thing that I've learned that, praying mantis taught me that I need to tackle my fear here and there. I actually literally felt it. I felt like I'm burning some deep karma or something out of my system, So, and then when I was finished, when I done, I sort of, she allowed me to finish her drawing her. So, it's like, it's just beautiful because it connects also the creative part of the DreamArc, which is for me so big because all the, animals, nature, all this process is so connected to also the creativity that flows through you, the dreams that are much, much more intense and amazing. So yeah, there's some two stories.
That's so lovely. It's so great to hear these stories, isn't it, Rosie?
It's so great. And what I was thinking too, Kasia, that I love is you really trusted your intuition. Like not just to trust that you were drawn to the praying mantis, but that she needed you to spend time with her 4 months, and that you waited for the message that you had experienced the full arc of whatever that relationship was here to offer you, also in relation to the drawing, like paying attention. Like when you're done with the drawing, then you're done with some kind of a process. And that for me, like the DreamArc is so much about that. It's like tuning into those deeper senses of timing and trusting what we're drawn to, what we're repelled by, how much time we need to spend somewhere, breaking rules, right? So maybe we provide some structures within the DreamArc and some possible pathways, but in the end, it's really about encouraging people to really live their lives in accordance with that very deep intuition, which you're demonstrating with that story. So I really want to honor you for that. It's a real lesson for all of us.
And also, Rosie, like, like because we invite people to bend the rules, that they're bendable. I think if you don't begin the DreamArc as a complete rebel, you certainly will leave one.
Yeah.
The idea is to then bend the rules of your life as well, like you described, Kasia. Like bending the reality so that it fits better.
Yeah.
Beautiful stories.
Yes.
Martyn, what about you? We'd love to hear like creature stories that have, kind of catalyzed your understanding of the DreamArc and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sort of with the DreamArc, I kind of see 3 levels. The first one slightly loops back to the question earlier of what brought me in. Obviously mentioned Kasia talked about it a bit, but the other part was after our chat, Richard, on my podcast, and that was maybe a bit more Gene Key focused, but sort of we then spoke afterwards, and you also welcomed me into the Dream Arc, and obviously met Rosy afterwards, and there was a lot, and still is a lot of energy around the general accessibility and inclusion. So I think, when you look at nature and animals, I know for me, being in a wheelchair, it's a generic thing that cities and towns are a bit more, or can feel like they are a bit more accessible. Whereas whenever I try to go off the beaten track, off into nature, it doesn't take a lot of uneven ground or mud in the winter to make that more challenging in a wheelchair. So I think I've had a bit of a belief that wasn't real or true, that being in a wheelchair means I can't enjoy nature. And so I've been able to kind of dig in a bit and realize that's not a truism. There's lots of ways to enjoy nature and enjoy, getting into contact with different animals, even from something like the perspective of being in a wheelchair. So through that personal journey, it's opened up all of the potential of how can Dream Arc and Gene Keys benefit disabled people. So that's been a very exciting thing. Back to that word bridging, sort of bridging my general background career-wise into everything that we're talking about today as well. So I think the second area is then just noticing nature and animals in particular since I've been more involved in the Dream Arc. So, it's been just as simple as like when we walk our dog, just being out and about and really stopping and seeing the trees and hearing the birds. It's just having been so busy and head down and striving for the next goal, I just never really, saw the wood for the trees, as they say. So I think that's just been really amazing, and I can feel how my nervous system calms down when I have those moments, and that's been really precious, particularly the last couple of years off the back of everything we went through with the pandemic, and now the growth of the business has been quite a sort of buckle up, and I'm now responsible for lots of people and all that kind of stuff. So it's really supported me in lots of everyday life kind of ways. So I think one particular animal, we were I was on a work trip in London, and we were just walking through near the South Bank. Some of you might know where the South Bank is, but it's right in the middle of London. And out of nowhere, a fox appeared and was not just sort of hiding behind a little bench or a bin or a tree, but it was like very visible. And again, it was back to my thing, even in London, just I wouldn't have seen nature, but it shows there is nature in a huge concrete jungle such as London. So I got back and I looked up the fox on the Animal Codex, and it wasn't some larger life breakthrough as a result of that contemplation, but it was just another beautiful moment of just engaging and seeing different animals. And I know the fox is a trickster, and so learning a bit more about the tricksters has been interesting. And then the third level is dreams. I've never really remembered dreams that much, and when I have, to be honest, they were a bit dull. They were a bit just like semi kind of daily to-do list type dreams, And the more I've been involved with the Dream Arc, I've had richer and richer dreams. And one in particular was riding an elephant in an Arabic country. It was sort of Aladdin, it evoked a lot of Aladdin smells and tapestry and everything. And linking to the Gene Key, my purpose is 5, which is patience. And back to the general life with it as a disabled person, from that particular part of my identity, I do have to have quite a lot of patience with care assistants doing all the support for me. Even today, I was trying to book a hotel for work next week, and it took ages and ages. So there was something very resonating about patience with the elephant as well. So yeah, those three layers have struck me. But I think my last thought on all this was that I feel very at the beginning with DreamArc, and I'm really excited for the upcoming plans to get more stuck in with the new people that will be joining, and then through that disability lens, being able to co-create something that's very inclusive for everybody as well.
Fantastic. Can you tell us, either of you or both of you, about the podcast itself, the idea, and how did that come about? And what would you like it to become? How would you like it to work? What's your vision for it?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think it's having personally benefited so much from the Gene Keys and the DreamArc. It's basically about sharing and opening up all of that richness to the world. And I think there are definitely particular strands that we've both, experienced personally, but also with our friends and our family, that we know the world needs this more than ever. And as you both have said, everyone's interaction and journey and what they take away from it will all be very different. But it's just that broader, it's just crying out, the world needs something like this for all that we've been going through. So this great change, as we were talking about earlier. So I think on a big visionary side is really bringing DreamArc to the world and being a part of the team and playing our small, part in that. And I think through the podcast, it's about hearing people's stories, having rich conversations, meeting awesome people, diverse people from all around the world, all different backgrounds, and really getting stuck into the artistry and the nature and the dreams that are topics that don't get enough energy and attention from the world. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't feel like add anything.
That's pretty great. Yeah, I think we just also love, converting with other people and just bringing, I'm copy that I just love hearing stories. I've always loved and been super interested by people's stories. I studied psychology because I wanted to crack the human behavior and where does it all come from. And, via the story, you can start seeing the patterns and, and it's just exciting to have so many, seeing already in the DreamArc, so many beautiful contributors. I mean, I can't wait to tap into their stories. And, I know that everyone's got such a unique story. As many people as we are on the planet, there's that many amazing stories to share and to inspire others, because sometimes you feel so lonely in your situation, and someone might actually shine a tiny spark of light into your life because you heard them saying and sharing their story or their struggle or their joy or anything, and because, as you mentioned, I love it, world really, really needs, I feel that's deeper than ever. And that was my first really big call to join the Gene Keys. I'm part of actually Gene Keys Poland, team. So we're translating a lot of Gene Keys and DreamArc as well. I'm usually the one who brings the animals in, in the social media, just because I know how important it is for people. I know how important it is for me, and I know that everyone's got that part in them that is so thirsty for the connection with nature again. And if we can bring it more to light and share it, and I feel we've got a chance, for bringing that great change more into here. So yeah, I feel that's why we are so excited and enthusiastic by the podcast, and obviously to be part of your team, guys. This is just so special. It's like dream come true.
Oh my gosh! Well, for us too. I've been thinking if there's so many things I wanna ask you. I'm wondering though, do we want to pull an oracle card too? That was something we talked about doing in honor of this podcast.
Can you initiate that, Rosie?
You want me to initiate that? Okay. So this is an ongoing conversation. You are going to be interviewing and connecting with all kinds of people. And like we talked about before, both of you remember, it was sort of like the oh golly me people and then the you're just like me people. I don't remember how we talked about it, how we phrased it, but it was really like you're going to be connecting with people who maybe are very impressive or self-expressed in the world and are amazing artists and musicians or contributors, but you're also going to be connecting with just normal people. We're all normal people deep down anyway, and we want to celebrate that. And I also just want to add that the DreamArc is really for everybody. And we talked a little bit about like who are the kinds of people who might enjoy the DreamArc. I don't know if you want to share about that. I just wanted to put that in there too before I sort of initiate the oracle, but kind of like think about who are the people we're going to be drawing this oracle for. And it might be for people who have forgotten who we are, or who have lost touch with our own nature or the nature of the world, or people who are feeling overstimulated by what's happening in the world, feeling lost, like there's all this change happening and they have no idea how to navigate it. They have no idea where to find truth or how to find truth within. I don't know if that other people want to kind of like maybe we can brainstorm together who we're drawing this oracle for, who the DreamArc podcast, who the DreamArc is for. People who are struggling with the divisiveness that's happening in the world and are looking for ways to unify both different parts of themselves, but also people in their family who may have different takes on what's happening in the world, war. Anything else coming up? Just like we really think about who.
I'd like to. I'd like to bring in men. Men, especially men who are very mental, very intellectual. Because the DreamArc's the opposite of that, and men that the male mind that has this incredible muscle and the scientific brain, and the DreamArc is the opposite. It's the other side. It's the other muscle on the other side. And it's very underdeveloped in a lot of men I know. Women as well, but mostly it's men. So I'd love to bring in lots of kind of intellectual men or sciencey type guys who just who have no idea what to make of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. And one for me, I guess, was that it kind of weaves into a lot of the ones Rosie was saying, but we've seen this immense technological advancement the last years. Obviously, a lot going on right now about artificial intelligence and what all that means. But as humans, we haven't really upgraded very much. I know that's something you spoke a lot about as well, Richard. So, yeah, I think it's as the world has developed so rapidly, technologically and scientifically, this is to help people to both understand and be able to use that technology in a sort of general way, but also in the end use it for good. So this technology, all the fear mongering about technology, but it can do a lot of good as well. So I think for me, that's an area that would be great.
I think it's been said kind of all together, but for me, I feel it's for people who look for their tribe, because it's such a tribal sort of community, but it's for people who feel lonely, in their life, within their family, as Rosie mentioned, that sometimes might feel just so misunderstood or non-understood in a way, and they just feel like they're the only ones in this world. Just to feel connected with other people, which they feel safe with, and they can explore their creative and the right brain without being like, diverted into the logic and that pattern. It's just like, just to let ourselves free more into this adventure, amazing adventure.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Rosie? Have you got any?
Well, one thing I was just thinking is we talk about the DreamArc as being the online course that gets people offline. And what I'm hearing from all of us, it's like offline to connect with ourselves, to connect with nature, to connect with each other, with community. Yeah. And there's so many of us who are needing that. And the last thing I would say, and I'm hoping that when you do your interviews, you'll be able to interview some of our Indigenous wisdom keepers who have come to the DreamArc as guests. Because a big part of what I feel the DreamArc is about is helping us remember the wisdom that's been carried through so many lineages all over the world. through these wisdom keepers who can help us kind of discover and unleash our own inner wisdom keeper. So that's just, that deep indigenous wisdom that has gotten lost as we've been expanding technologically, but then needs to be synthesized back in. What were we going to say, Richard?
Yeah, I was just going to add in there that like elders, we've lost touch with our elders. And so I'd love the dream work to reach elderly communities, people who might be lonely and feeling like they have no value as an elder, and that the dream arc could actually plug them back into their elderhood, their wisdom, and many elderly communities, that people just really isolated and just on their own, or they're only together with other elders. And so they're kind of missing. We're missing that integration of them into our wider community. And so I think like the elderly community is a place that this could be really beautiful, because it opens up, like at the other end of the spectrum, it opens up that child in us again. And so I think younger people as well, like in their 20s, this might really appeal to, and perhaps even younger, in the people, teenagers, because they're really open to kind of anything, and especially magical things like this. So yeah, those two ends of the spectrum, I think, would be really good to just bear in mind. I totally get what you're saying, Rosie, about that.
Basically, the whole planet.
Yeah, definitely.
It is everyone. Yeah.
It is everyone. And also just in relation to the two of you and your history, kind of bringing in people who are either disabled, differently abled, however we want to talk about it, people who suffered from mental illness, Lyme disease, physical challenges. I think the dream arc could be very good for them. So that's all. So we're just putting all these humans in the cauldron, and we're going to hold the intention that through this podcast and through all the magic that is being drawn to the magnet that the two of you are, all of these people will be served in one way or the other, and will be participants as well. They'll be able to contribute to this expanding, magical, fun, intuitive, dreamy adventure that is the dream arc, which is deeply collective. So in honor of that vision, shall we pick an oracle for the podcast?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so it's me doing that. I forgot. Okay. So Elijah, we're in the process actually of making a hard copy oracle deck with the full Dream Arc Animal Codex and a life web that'll be in a beautiful cloth, and it's going to be very, very cool. But right now I have a mock deck that Elijah Parker, our wizard, created. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really slowly go through them like this. And then as soon as you say now, wherever my thumb is in the back will be the animal that we get. And then Richard is going to read from the oracle for us. Okay. So everybody listening as well, just hold all of humanity, all of the trees and the beasts and the dogs and the mosquitoes and the ticks in your heart. And now we are going to pull an oracle card for all of us. You just say when.
Now.
Oh, cute.
Drum rolls.
Oh, yeah. That is so cute.
Isn't that cute?
Now, what is that?
Is that a baby?
That isn't the weasel?
It's a weasel?
Is it weird?
Yeah, what do you think, guys?
I thought it was a baby lion, but...
Wait a second.
I think it's a weasal.
Maybe because my guardian is lion, so
Hold on, let me look it up.
It's a very friendly weasel.
You know which one is the weasel, Richard?
Yes. I'm looking at I'm getting it.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I have it.
There's one that looks like the meerkat as well, but no, I do think this is a weasel.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a very because often the weasel catches a negative
Yeah.
idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a hunter. It's one of the hunters. So we're going hunting.
Yes.
And the life key, because every creature, especially the mammals, they have their life keys. And underworld creatures, they have fear keys. And the birds, they have vision keys. So the life key of the weasel is called ingenious initiative.
Ooh.
So that's a kind of good key for us, ingenious initiative. The partners are the condor, the bird, and the scorpion underneath. And some of the mythic influences, which are kind of interesting, it has been associated with evil a lot for some cultures. And the Native American, though, it symbolizes stealth, energy, and ingenuity, and has the gift of hearing between the lines and seeing beneath the surface of situations. So that the Native Americans see the weasel as a prophet, because it was he who foretold the coming of the whites and the destruction they would bring. So it's a attunement to what's coming. And then it's a ferocious, highly adaptive, bold predator representing an almost electrical energy. I'm going to jump around a bit. Yeah. It's known for its vigilant maternal instincts, which act as a counterbalance to its otherwise solitary nature. So I read what the weasel says. I am weasel. I may have a bad reputation among humans. It's always the way with some of us. We draw the negative projections of others simply by being ourselves. It's not something to take pride in, but it's also not something we should be overly concerned with. The forces of karma and justice are complex and mysterious, and everything happens for our growth. If I've sneaked into your life right now, then there are things you need to protect from others. Your heart is foremost. Assert boundaries in relationships where you're not respected. You need not do this roughly. It's always better to speak your truth honestly and with an open heart. You can use my hunter's ferocity only for good. Use it to increase your own love. Let love be the only thing that matters in your life. Let love call the shots. Having said the above, you must be careful with yourself and others. We weasels are as gentle as we are fierce. But our gentleness is only known by those who give us their loyalty. There's nothing more important than loyalty to you. This does not mean you cannot forgive. People always deserve a second chance, but loyalty must be earned. You too must earn it by putting aside your own shadows, not succumbing to dramas where you blame others. Your ferocity and anger must be transformed into passion, into the service of the whole. You must learn to move beyond the petty, beyond your opinions and judgments, into a much wider field, a field of awakening. Now is the time to take the initiative. No time for holding back. Whatever's been waiting, begin it now. Begin it before you feel ready. You will learn as you go along. Let the power of weasels set you on fire. Hunt within for your independent ingenuity. You are here to do something no other can do. Find this thing. Do not say that you do not know. You know. Then let us dance together towards the great awakening of all beings. Let your role as initiator be known and lived now. Put aside your sufferings now. Feel the passion and follow the bliss within your soul. There you are. So what did you hear in there?
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, I feel like, gosh, I heard so many things. Like, it felt to me like, it's like for the podcast, it's like almost perfect animal in a way to represent, because it was saying to go beyond the opinions, to go beyond, like creating a space for all these very, very diverse, beings that are going to be coming to the podcast. I feel like this is what I call my sort of, maybe I need to work on my own still inner sort of opinions and the ideas that I was, I have in me from my life, from myself, from my karma, from everything. But it also is that, like, we are in this magical time that, as the weasel said, just go for it, basically. Yeah, like, we know that this is the way, like, this is something to bring to create the safe space for people to talk the truth. I think that's what he said as well, which I love, because there'll be a lot of people who will want to tell the truth, but we all might be still like trying to put the lenses on, to look better, to sound better. It's just about let's open up. Let's just don't put those lenses anymore. Yeah, I guess that's what got me there.
Yeah, nice. Martyn, what about you?
Yeah, a lot of similar things to what Kasia said, and then a little bit to your point earlier, Richard, about the men and the masculine needing to be balanced more. And so there was that side about the hunter, but then there was that maternal caring side. So I took away that need for yin and yang and for more balance in the world.
Yeah, great. And also, I mean, if you know your gene keys, which I know you do, this is gene key 51, which actually has something to do with shock. So we might, we might shock people a bit, and but we want to invite people, not to shock people, but to say things that, that they feel free to say things.
Yeah.
So I think that would be amazing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
the world needs a bit shocking awake, doesn't it?
Yep.
it does. And what it's so nice, I love that there's so much paradox in this one. There's sort of the obvious thing, which is go for it. You don't have to get ready. You're ready. You know what you need. This is the time to initiate. That's so like obvious for this podcast. It's like the perfect message. Like, you're on track, go for it. And then there are all these paradoxes, right? There are all these paradoxes also about, it's about leading from the heart and love being more important than anything else. And yet at the same time, being protective of the heart,
And that's something about that. Sorry, Rosie. About that uniqueness we all have. That came out, and you sort of reiterated it there, that, we're all ready. We all have these special gifts, but we're all holding back a little bit because the world hasn't felt so safe lately. But maybe this is the time that we all bring our uniqueness to the forefront.
Yeah, and Martyn, if I can say this a bit risky, perhaps, is, you are an incredible mixture of vulnerable and strong, and courage. And, I think that like your kind of role here is pivotal, especially as a man, and especially as a man that's speaking to like the disability community and perhaps other kind of sort of communities that don't feel as integrated as they would like to. I feel like that is where the courage of the weasel is, like to kind of be inclusive and bring people in. And, that's the one thing that kind of unites everyone is like everyone has a favorite animal. It's like everyone has an inner child. So you could go to the kind of meanest kind of person on the planet and go, what's your favorite animal? Come on, tell us. Go on, really tell us. Or bird, or, and suddenly you see if they were to tell you, you see a glimpse of the child inside them, because there's some quality in that creature that they look towards. And, I think it's, so anyway, I wanted to just honor that energy in you.
Yeah, that really made me emotional. Actually, that was very powerful. I think it's super spot on when it comes to Mark, to you, and I feel to what world needs. I think it's
the word activism has been quite a hard sounding word over the years, and understandably, there's a lot of victim around that. It's oppressor and discriminated against. It's all those kind of dynamics. And I think activism from the heart is back to what we've been talking about today. So as a disabled person, as anyone in a minority group that has felt oppressed, it's like flipping that on its head, that we can go out there and curate and co-create a world that works for everybody, but it doesn't have to be through fighting or war or anger. It's from the heart. So that's what came up for me when you were sharing that there, Richard.
Yeah, ecstatic activism.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Another one for your ecstatic series, Richard.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
I love it. Yeah, it's great. And a beautiful design you did as well, Kasia, which I thought was stunning.
Oh, thank you. It's just I was so inspired. I feel like I think there's something cooking really extremely special here all together.
Kasia's a phenomenal artist, and it's something that the Dream Key's bringing out more and more. So I think that's another personal anecdote that's been really beautiful to watch from the sidelines, the flourishing of Kasia's artistry.
Brilliant.
Wonderful.
Well, I'm really looking forward to kind of tuning in and just like listening to you guys and seeing all the amazing people that I know will be drawn in, and hearing their stories and hearing about their transformations and how the dream arc is playing through their souls and kind of opening them up in different ways. And you as well. I want to see that impacting both of you.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interactive. It's asked the guests and everybody watching. It will be lots of dynamic interaction. And as I said, I'm very excited to continue on the journey personally through the dream arc and share that through the podcast, as I know you are. So yes, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's true. That's so true. So, a little message from Weasel. You've all witnessed the official initiation of the Dream Keys podcast with Kasia.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
So
much.
much love. Mwah. Thank you all for tuning in.